Hi guys, what's up everyone? This is Gaurav. Welcome back to another video. This will be continuation of job and internship search strategies, and in this video I'm going to talk about 8 tips for a successful job interview. What are the strategies that you need to implement in order to get an interview to a successful level? Now, in last video I talked about some of the myths which should be avoided during finding a job, or there were another video where I said that what you have to exactly do after job interview. Link is flashing on the screen right now, so if you didn't check it out, please check that playlist and you will find a bunch of videos about job and internship search strategies. When it comes to job interviews, when it comes to internship interviews, anything, you might need a strategy, you might need to avoid certain things. So in this video I am going to also explain what are the things which you should avoid in order to get your interview to a success level. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to highlight 8 points which are really important if you are trying to get a job, or if you are planning to build a strategy in order to achieve that first round of interview, second round, or maybe you are just going for your final interview. These strategies which I'm going to tell you in this video will definitely help you out, so please check them out. And also, it is very crucial to understand the process of hiring, understand how the job interview works. So let's find out what are the strategies and what are the tips which I'm going to tell you in this video. So if you want to know, please keep on watching. Tip number 1, hide your nervousness. I understand that when you go for a job interview now in this COVID era, you might be facing the job interview via video call. But whether it's a video call or in person, make sure that you hide your nervousness, because if there is one interviewer who is taking your interview, you might not be that much nervous. But I can understand if you're facing 5 to 6 people in a group while interviewing, you might be nervous. So the best way to hide nervousness is, if you are sweating, take a second to just take the paper napkin or paper towel and wipe your sweatness. If your hands are shaking, if your legs are shaking, make sure they become calm. Sometimes people have a habit of shaking their legs, like I do sometimes, but that's a sign of nervousness. It really, the interviewer can find out that you are nervous, and while you speak you mumble. So it's always better to take a deep breath and then take out your nervousness and then speak confidently, because if you are nervous, the chances of things getting wrong slightly becomes more, and that can be a negative side of your interview. But always be positive, always be confident, and make sure that you are not nervous and you give up that nervousness before your interview. Take your time. If it's a physical in-person interview, then make sure your all sweats are out, you are calm, positive, confident. And if it's a video interview, make sure you are presentable, you are aware your environment around you is positive, there is no disturbance going on, and in this way you will be able to crack your interview and you will be able to eradicate that nervousness which you have. So important point, please keep noting. Tip number 2, answer the questions which you are asked. Now, that might sound obvious that you have to answer whatever question the recruiters or the interviewer ask you, but it's really easy to get off the track while answering the questions. Now, take an example. Like, suppose they ask you about your strength, or what are the challenges you will face. So the best thing to do would be to start off that question itself and then rephrasing it and giving it your answer. Suppose you can start off like, oh, so you want to know about what are the challenges I may face? That's an interesting question, so let's begin. Like that. So your response is, if you rephrase it and you tell that the interviewer knows that you are aware of what question is he has or she has asked, and you can answer accordingly. So make sure you do not get off track. Always in your mind, just ask yourself whether you are staying on track or not. And if there are two questions, if the interviewer asks you multiple questions, make sure you answer them individually. Do not mix up the question. And if the same question is asked two times or they have told you to elaborate it, that means that interviewer wants your depth explanation on that topic. Like, suppose they ask you what are the challenges did you face, and were those challenges the most difficult ones you faced? There are two questions here: the challenges which you faced, and were those the most difficult among all the challenges you faced? So you have to rephrase it correctly. You have to answer them individually to make sure that everything you answer is on track and you are not getting off track that topic. And stick to the point, answer straight, nothing here and there, and you will be good to go. Tip number 3: pay attention to your interviewers. This is really important. While you interview, while you answer their questions, make sure you notice their gesture, their postures, their behavior. Because suppose you are answering a question and you see an interviewer yawning, or you see it looking to their watch, or you see that they are facing somewhere else, that indicates that the interviewer is not interested in your answer, or you are lacking somewhere. So by doing this, you will be able to understand when to wrap up your answer or when you should stop. It's not like if the interviewer asks you, tell me about yourself, if you keep on speaking for 5 minutes non-stop starting from your high school, that's something you need to work on, because they just want to know a short brief introduction about you. And if you keep on speaking, then the recruiters, interviewers, their time is valuable and you are stretching their time and the interview time. So make sure you answer to the point, and you always be aware of what's going on, and always pay attention to your interview to make sure you guide your interview, not the interviewer guide you. Because if you have certain strong points, that should tell the interviewer, or that should like make curious to interview to ask that specific question to you, and that way you can guide your own interview if you answer in such a way. There are some techniques, strategies that you might need to implement on that interview. As I was saying, it's really important to pay attention to the interview and what you are answering in order to understand when to wrap up or when to emphasize on more things, and whether the interviewer is interested in your answer or not. So that will explain you like how to proceed with your answers in the next question or within that question itself. Tip number 4: know when and how to end your answers. Now, when you're answering the questions, then you might encounter certain points when you feel like you have to wrap up your answers and you need to end this rhythm which you are saying it from a longer time. Now, when you do that, make sure you do not add such sentences at the end of your answer, like, I hope you got the answers what you wanted, I hope this is clear what I meant, I hope I didn't go on any unfocused topic, or you were very unfocused towards that answer. Do not say such negative things or sentence. If you are not focused on that answer, you should not speak it. If you are not confident, or if you're not clear about that answer, you should not speak it. So it's really unnecessary to say that, okay, I hope this is clear, and etc. etc. So avoid such sentences and make sure you wrap up your answer very nicely with a smile on your face and a nod, being confident. Because if you finish your answer being confident, the interviewer might realize that you gave your best answer and this was to the point and you were not unsure about anything that you spoke. So make sure you also notice the behavior of the interviewer, whether he was interested and he wanted to know more, or he or she were yawning, looking away, and trying to get to the next question to end this interview. So this is really interconnected, the behavior, how to wrap up your answers, how to end that answer. So make sure you say it to the point and you are aware of what's going on. And tip number 5, frame yourself as a potential colleague and not as a graduate student. Now, when you are taking an interview, you tend to be focused more as a student, and sometimes you tell answers as a student. But when you are doing an interview, the interviewer looks at you as a potential candidate, and there will be other personalities, there will be other people answering the same question. So you need to be presenting to them as a potential colleague. Like, for example, when you say that you have done this and this studies, then you should not say that I have majored in. You should tell that I have concentrated in so and so masters or your PhDs. And then the another example you can take is when you do your research, you should not say like I did my dissertation. You should say like I did my research on so and so topic. So it's really important how you present yourself. Why? Because it shows that you are ready for your next stage of your career and you're ready to move from your student life to a working professional. And this is really important because the interviewer should know that you are prepared, you're ready to move into a corporate world in order to gain such experience, and you are ready to move your student life. Tip number 6, don't be self-deprecating. Now, what do I mean by that? Whenever you talk about your research, whenever you talk about your projects, always be confident. Do not disapprove on your own research. Do not lack in confidence while you speak about your own achievements or own things which you did. Be proud of yourself and make sure you do not show the interviewer that you are not that much proud of your things or you are disapproving your own achievements, because that happens when you are trying to explain to someone about your achievements or your projects or your success. You might think that you are boasting about yourself, but that's not the case. You are just trying to explain a question which they asked you and what you are proud of. And you should be very proud of yourself for achieving something, not because you achieved that, but because you did your hard work, you did your research towards attaining that goal. So it's really important that you do not disappoint yourself and you answer very confidently. So tip number 7, don't use material as a stand-in for your answers. Now, this point is important. Like, when you're speaking your answers, do not refer or do not show them any material which might distract the interviewer from your answer. I mean to say that suppose you are going for a physical interview and you pass on to your documentation instead of explaining to them. So what happens that when you speak your answers, their focus might go in the document which you gave or your portfolio which you gave, and they might distract it by reading those instead of listening to you. So if you're speaking very confidently and to the point some things, then they might distract themselves by looking into the document. It's fine verbally, you can say that okay, this is mentioned in my portfolio on so and so page number with X detail. You can refer it to it when the interview is done. Because if you pass on to a material or if you show them on a webcam that this is something which I did, this and that, their focus unintentionally focuses on those materials, and they won't be able to pay 100% attention to what you are saying. So it's always important not to just pass on any materials which might distract them. In that way, they are also listening to you and they are taking note that I have to refer to that documentation, and they are keeping you in mind. So they will go back to you after the interview and they will not forget you. That's the another way. Last but not the least, tip number 8, always have questions for the interviewing committee. I've made a specific video why it is important to ask questions. At the end of every interview, every recruiter or interviewer is going to ask you a question. Do you have any questions for me? If they ask, you should be prepared with questions. Why? Because it shows that you are interested in this position. Questions like, what will be the challenges will you face? What are the challenges for this position? How are the team members going to work together? What are the next priorities of this company? How can they increase or utilize the employers which they work from there, and stuff like that. Do not ask anything regarding bonus or your increment or anything like that, because you have not been selected yet. So make sure you always ask question at the end of the interview. If you do not, then it's a red flag. The interviewer might come to know that you are not interested in this position. Always ask questions. Finally, I would like to say that always respond to emails. Always be professional. Like, suppose you are getting an email from a company where you don't want to go and you have accepted some other position, then always let them know that you have already accepted positions. Do not ignore those emails, because that's very unprofessional, and you may never know when you need them again in your life. It's just like people, networking and relationships. You never ignore those people who interviewed you. You never ignore those emails. Just let them know what is your current situation and why you do not want to proceed. So that's all for this video, guys. I hope you got the information, and we hope you got some tips and strategies which I tried to explain here. I'm also on Instagram if you want to follow me there and get some guidance. If you have any questions, comment below or DM me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next one. If you like this video, then please share with your friends who need to look at this, and I will appreciate that, and I will see you in the next one with the next video. So thank you for watching.